The morning sun spilled golden light across the quiet farmlands of Willow Creek. Dew clung to the fields, sparkling like diamonds, and the smell of fresh earth lingered in the air. To most, it was the picture of peace, but for Abigail Miller, it was the weight of another long, dreaded day. She trudged down the dirt road toward her small-town high school, her backpack digging into her shoulders, her steps heavy, not because of her size, but because of the stares and whispers that awaited her. At 16, Abigail was known by cruel nicknames rather than her real name. Piggy Abby, they'd call her, or Barn Girl, mocking her weight and her family's farm life. She wasn't the polished city girl with painted nails and sleek hair. She was big, strong, often wearing hand-me-downs, and smelled faintly of hay from morning chores. But beneath her shy silence was a soul with more heart than anyone dared to imagine. Her family lived on the edge of town, scraping by with their dairy farm. Her father had passed away when Abigail was 10, leaving her mother, Margaret Miller, to raise 2 children and run the farm almost single-handedly. Life had been tough, but Margaret was tougher. She worked sunrise to sunset, her hands calloused, her spirit unbroken. Abigail admired her fiercely, though she often wondered if her classmates would ever respect her the way she respected her mother. But the bullies at school didn't care about resilience. They only saw Abigail as a target. That morning, in the crowded hallway of Willow Creek High, Jessica Turner, the self-proclaimed Queen Bee, spotted Abigail walking by. Jessica, with her perfect blonde curls and expensive clothes, was always the first to strike. "Careful, everyone," she announced loudly. "The floor might crack under the farm cow." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Abigail kept her head down, clutching her books, willing herself to disappear. Her best friend, Daniel Parker, a lanky boy who'd grown up next door, walked beside her. "Ignore them, Abby," he whispered. "They don't know you." But deep down, Abigail felt the sting. The words burrowed under her skin, no matter how much she tried to ignore them. The taunts grew worse in the weeks that followed. The bullies had found new amusement, not just in mocking Abigail's body, but in targeting her family's farm. Late one Friday night, Jessica and her gang drove by the Miller farm. They spray-painted cruel words on the barn walls, "Fat cows live here," and scattered garbage across the fields. When Abigail discovered the mess the next morning, tears blurred her vision. She knew instantly who had done it. Margaret stood beside her, surveying the damage. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried a storm. "Abby," she said softly, placing a firm hand on her daughter's shoulder, "don't let this break you. People who hurt others are usually carrying their own emptiness." "But Mom," Abigail choked, "they're destroying everything we have. They hate me, they hate us." Margaret sighed, her gaze turning distant. "They don't know who we really are. One day, they will." Those words puzzled Abigail, but she had no time to dwell. The harassment escalated. Jessica and her friends spread rumors online, mocking Abigail's weight and accusing her family of being poor hicks. They even stole milk from the Miller farm and filmed themselves dumping it into the gutter, laughing as they posted it on social media. The breaking point came during the school's annual Harvest Festival. Abigail, who usually kept to herself, had reluctantly agreed to help set up the food stands. But Jessica, always hungry for humiliation, seized the chance. She and her group cornered Abigail in front of the crowd, tipping a basket of apples over her head. The fruit scattered everywhere as laughter erupted. "Go on, Abby," Jessica sneered. "Pick them up, you're good at gathering food, aren't you?" Abigail froze, humiliation burning her cheeks. Daniel tried to defend her, but the mob was relentless. Just when Abigail thought she couldn't bear another second, a strong, steady voice cut through the chaos. "Enough." The crowd fell silent. Abigail turned, stunned, to see her mother standing there. Margaret Miller, in her worn boots and simple denim jacket, strode forward with a presence that silenced even the boldest bully. She picked up an apple, placed it calmly on the table, and fixed her eyes on Jessica. "You think kindness is weakness," Margaret said evenly. "But let me tell you something. This girl you mock, this family you target, comes from a line of people who've built this town from its roots. Every glass of milk you drink, every loaf of bread you buy, every festival you celebrate has our sweat and sacrifice in it. My daughter isn't weak, she's stronger than you'll ever know." Jessica tried to laugh it off, but her voice cracked. "You're just some farmer." Margaret's gaze sharpened. "I am Margaret Miller. I served this country for 20 years as a decorated army officer before I took over the farm. I fought battles you can't even imagine so girls like you could have the freedom to be cruel. But I'll tell you this, strength isn't measured by cruelty. It's measured by compassion, and that's something Abigail has more of than anyone in this room. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers spread. No one had known. The quiet farm widow was a war hero. Even the teachers looked stunned. Jessica's smirk vanished, replaced by the flush of shame. Abigail stood frozen, her heart pounding. She had always known her mother was strong, but in that moment, she saw her as unshakable. The bullies, who once held so much power, suddenly looked small. From that day, things began to change. Jessica and her group, exposed and humiliated, lost their grip on the school's attention. Daniel remained by Abigail's side, but now more classmates approached her with newfound respect. Slowly, the whispers turned into greetings, the laughter into apologies. The farm, once vandalized, became a place of pride. Community members came together to repaint the barn, repairing the damage the bullies had caused. Abigail, though still shy, stood taller, no longer hiding. She realized her mother's words were true: people eventually see the truth of who you are. But most of all, she learned that the strength she admired in her mother also lived in her. She was no longer just the fat farm girl. She was Abigail Miller, daughter of a hero, a girl of resilience, and a young woman whose worth was beyond measure. And the bullies, they learned the hardest lesson of all: never underestimate the quiet ones, because their roots run deeper than cruelty can reach. Dash dash dash.